back here on First Up to First Stop in your busy day. We're inside hour number 2 of the simulcast this morning. It's just about, it's 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. In this hour, we will be having a very interesting debate going on between two gentlemen who can be safely called spokespersons for the two major ethnic groups in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're going to be hearing them on varying issues this morning. Of course, we want you to be a part of it, so send in your text messages, put your posts on our Facebook pages, and also drop us a line via email, firstup@ctntworld.com, facebook.com/firstuplive, facebook.com/talkcity91.1, and also send your text messages to us. Type First Up, leave a space, type your comment, and send everything to 4913. Now that you know how to be a part of it, let's get down to the debate. We want to say good morning and welcome to Professor Selwyn Cudjoe. He is the spokesperson for the Association for the Empowerment of African Peoples. We also have with us Mr. Satnarayan Maharaj. He is the spokesperson for the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome. We want a clean fight, no hits below the belt, please. Ding, 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 ding.
If the opportunity arises, I will hit him below the belt.
Is that how we're going to start? Gentlemen, let's start with something. We're going to divide the discussion into 3 20-minute parts: race, politics, and religion. And let's start with race, which is one of the burning topics. You're both advocates for particular groups, and vehemently so, unapologetically. But however, you've both, because of that, on one occasion or another, by different groups, been called racists. And a racist has been described by Webster as a person who attributes a particular characteristic or tribute to one ethnic group as opposed to another. Is it a fair statement when people or groups call you, either of you, gentlemen, racist because of your, what I shall describe as advocacy?
Well, personally, I believe that is an overused expression. If I were to advocate a position that there is discrimination in the police force against Indians, which is an established fact, then some people will call me a racist. Some people will call me a man who is fighting for equality. So it depends on who is reading the situation and how they want to read it. And similarly, I expect my friend on the other side here will suffer the same consequence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not overused. I think it's a misunderstood term. I've said on very many occasions that Satmaraj represents his organization, and he advocates for his organization. That doesn't make him a racist. It simply makes him someone who advocates for his group of people. I am an African man, and I advocate for the rights of my people as it happens to, as I see it, either infringe or not infringe. That does not make you a racist. A racist is someone who looks for an advantage, undue, to his own group at the expense of others. But let me say one thing. The fact that Sad and I could sit here and talk and disagree with one another and still be friends, even though he's going to hit me below my belt, he likes unfair advantages, I think it demonstrates the level of civility which exists in our society. And those terms are overused in silly terms.
Why is it we as a country, who have had the history of having two major ethnic groups, East Indians and Afro-Trinidadians, enter into a discussion about race and sometimes politics? It gets to the point of always calling each other or the other group racist or having a racist agenda. Why can't we have that discussion and move it forward into a different place in this country over the years? What contributes to that?
Well, I think we are still evolving as a society, and we have seen this same thing. Let's say in South Africa, it was a pure racist regime. Apartheid was pure racist. In Trinidad, it is, I won't say it's pure racist, but whoever is in power, political power, they have used their power over the last 50 years to their own advantages. I mean, it's not by accident that 25% of the population of this country are Hindus, and for 30 years, not a Hindu in the cabinet. It is not by accident. It is not deliberate. That is political and deliberate. But we have not reached this stage. We have never reached this stage of South Africa, because we can still sit and talk, and we can still sit in the same studio, and Selwyn could come into my mandir, and I will tell him exactly how I feel, so that we share certain views, we agree on certain things. And he and I, we have met in the Prime Minister's office for 10 years in a Race Relations Committee meeting. The fact that Patrick Manning organized a Race Relations Committee of 3 Africans and 3 Indians, he recognized that there's a racial problem. And if we meet and we talk and we sit, we probably could solve the problems.
But gentlemen, let's look at this Race Relations Committee that was configured. Do you believe that the work that that committee did has trickled down to the rest of society? Do you believe that it has made a difference? At your level, you understand each other and you have mutual respect and admiration for each other. You can agree to disagree. You're beyond civil and polite. You know, there is genuine affection. We can see it between the two of you. But that is not being translated into the wider society. So has your Race Relations Committee failed?
Well, to the extent that the leadership of the Race Relations Committee, who is Patrick Manning, he was Patrick Manning, I would say it didn't trickle up. So if it didn't trickle up, then it couldn't trickle down. Because he had to give the all clear that this be put in the public arena. What we agree on, what we disagree on. It didn't meet him at all. This was a cover, like a fig leaf on a naked man.
Professor Cudjoe.
I think it's quite true. There were very free and frank discussions. We advocated that, of course, that the results of that be made public and that there be public discussions and discourses. It never happened. But we never controlled the process. And so, therefore, the public never had the advantage of something like this. So other people just speaking about issues. So the reason for that has nothing to do with us. It has to do with those who led it at the time. But we advocated that this be made public and we have public discussions about these matters. So it didn't work in that sense.
So an entity like this, then, should never have been politicized. It should have come out of civil society.
Now,
is it too late for that now?
What does that mean? It should be politicized? I don't understand what you mean. Anytime you're talking race, people, you see, you have different groups. A society has limited resources. Each group is making demands on those resources. Once you begin to do that, that's politics. So to say that you've got different groups in a civil society, in a civic order, who are asking for different kinds of demands, and that's not going to be political, I think is to be nonsensical. That always happen. The question is, how do you conduct it? And even though you fight in a way that at the end of the day, some win, some lose, some gain, some etc., etc. So a notion to say that this should not be politicized, I don't think is true. It has to be politicized.
As you're making that point about, the different groups, the different interest groups in society fighting for their share of the pie, we just wanted to go to a couple statements that both of you would have made in the past, particularly with regard to the composition of state boards and so on. So let's go to those clips now featuring Mr. Mirage and Professor Cudjoe as they talk about the sharing of the national pie in terms of okay, they're going to be lining that up for us. But as soon as it's available, we're going to run it so that we can get a sense as to how the discourse has been going and understand if we need to change it or if we were actually on the right track by going in that direction.
Given the fact that both you gentlemen have articulated points, Mr. Maharaj says, for almost 50 years, one particular group that's perceived to be an Afro-Trinidadian group.
But that's obvious.
The PNM.
Yeah.
And then, as Professor Cudjoe, last time he was here, says the present government, which is perceived to be an East Indian group,
that's what he meant,
is not distributing the pie equitably, and that it is a primarily Hindu group from a feudal background, which is clannish. Those two perspectives, depending on who is in power, are sometimes at the heart of these discussions. No matter who is in power, it is perceived to be from the other side rather than my side, and there's an inequitable distribution of the resources in the country. How do we get past this? Because there's that perception.
First of all, we must face the truth. That discussion and that charge was not only racial, it was also religious, and it was unfounded. Because you see, my friend here has written, and I want to read 2 lines of his article. He has written an article in which he is alluding to the fact that the Hindus have taken over Trinidad and Tobago, that we force the Speaker of the House to convert and marry under Hindu rites. This is what he said. This is what he wrote. Almost that was he said. And then he, Wade Mark got the word early and married in full Hindu rites. What is the meaning of that?
That he married in full Hindu rites?
Yeah, well, you bring that in the context of how many Hindus in the cabinet. But Jack did not show as much foresight. He was still under the illusion that one loved politics and interracial unity. When Kamla gave Devant, Sat Maharaj's right-hand man, most of Jack's ministry, you see the illusion, the Hindu involved, the religious involvement. This is what he said. But he never gave us the figures of in the cabinet. How many Hindus in the cabinet, how many Muslims in the cabinet, and how many Christians in the cabinet. So that for his benefit, I have really brought those figures out for him to show him where the power really lies. The population right now, around 25% of the population are Hindus. And these are the Hindus in the cabinet. You see, he even said Ramadas Singh is a Hindu. Ramadas Singh is a Presbyterian. In his article, he said that. Look at here, you know. He started off by saying that. After Jack's dethronement, although Jack was the governor and the king, and he was dethroned, yes.
He was the king.
16 critical ministries were given to Hindus. Glenn Ramadas Singh, minister in social development. Glenn Ramadas Singh swore on the Bible. Glenn Ramadas Singh is a Presbyterian. Yet, my friend, because he wants to make the case against the Hindu, he wants to do like Eric Williams did, keep us out of power for 30 years.
Let's go to that clip now with Professor Kojo on government composition to get some context as to what he said on the show last time he was here. Yeah. So we take a look at that and come back to our discussion.